Everybody, what happens when you get caught up in a tangle of webs, spider webs? And of course, I'm talking metaphorically. How do you get out of it? And what happens when you get caught up in a cult? Like we all remember the Kool-Aid, right? And we all remember Koresh. Well, we don't remember. A lot of us don't remember that, but we all know about David Koresh and what happened in Waco, Texas. Today, I have a very special guest who's experienced being caught up in the web of a cult. And she has a very, very scary, interesting story. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our beautiful guest who prefers to be anonymous for obvious reasons. But that doesn't do anything or take anything away from the story. So let's begin. Hello. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You?
I'm very good, thank you. Tell us a bit about, we can't tell you a bit about who you are, or maybe you can tell us a bit about who you are and how you got caught up in this cult.
Well, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness from a young age. I was also adopted. So that was the way that I was raised. We went to church 3 times a week and went door to door as well on Saturdays ever since I was a baby. Then as I got older, you start to change, and that type of life was a lot for a young kid to be a part of. Mm-hmm. If you can imagine, like, going to school and not only being ridiculed for those things because you're not allowed to, celebrate holidays, celebrate birthdays, never bringing any fun things to school, like birthday treats or whatever. So that's all growing up. And then as I was older, I tried to move up within the church. My father was an elder. And when I was 16, I was brought into elders meetings where you're asked simple questions. You think they're simple questions, and they don't have such simple ends. So I was brought into an elders meeting for smoking marijuana with a fellow Jehovah's Witness, but he wasn't a witness, like he wasn't baptized. So the difference between me and him was that I was baptized and that I was treated differently after that. So what answers I gave to the elders that are the ones that judge you, the 3 elders, he's able to tell his story as truth and honesty. And I told them truth and honesty that, am I going to do this again? Well, I don't know. At this time, I'm pretty annoyed because I'm a 16-year-old kid and I'm being asked questions by not my father or not my grandfather, who are also part of the religion, but these are strangers. And then I answer them, I don't know if I'm going to make another mistake. I don't know if I'm going to, I would hope so, but I can't promise you. That's what I told them. And they thought that was non-compliant or resistant. And that's not the way that they explained it to me right then and there. So I honestly told them that I don't know if I'm going to make a mistake. I'm 16 years old. I'm a young person. I'm going to become an adult. And I never thought that those repercussions would mean that all of my family is lost.
Wow.
And all of my family is all of my family. And the people that I was raised with, all of my friends are my family, my cousins. And that's all we hang out with is my cousins and my family. And all of that within a week was ripped from me completely. And there's no way of bringing that back.
Wow. So what exactly happened?
Well, I was still in school. I went upstairs and I spoke to my father and mother. They were in a dark room, and I was down in the basement where I had the elders meeting. And when I came up, I told them what happened, and they're just like, "You told them that?" And I was like, "Well, I told them the truth."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Well, you should have told them this."
Oh,
I'm like, "Well, that's not true, though. I don't know if I'm going to do that again." And it's not like I wasn't trying to get in trouble, but I wasn't trying to lie either. And I didn't want to be kept on going into that circle. Well, anyways, they told me that I was going to be disfellowshipped. And my dad was like, well, you either comply and go to church and go to the meetings and get back in. And at that time, I was like, I'm just mad. Yes. I was mad that I couldn't tell the truth. And that I couldn't be myself. And the other person's not getting judged at all because they're not baptized. So they lose their privileges going door to door. I lose all of my family. So I continued with school. I graduated when I was 17, and I was able to live in the house until I was 17 when I graduated. And then because I wouldn't go to the meetings because I didn't see the point in it. Like I'm mad. I was a rebellious teenager kind of, because now I'm just feeling judged. And so I decided that I didn't want to do that right away. I want to go to the meetings, but I also want to be true to myself, which is, be a kid and maybe make mistakes. And so I had to move out of my house. I moved to a very bad neighborhood. It lived like a crack house. It lived on a third floor. Mm-hmm. The only person that would be able to sign a lease would be somebody that's under like the table. I was looking for apartments, and I went to a pawn shop that was on a corner. Mm-hmm. And I got a lease or non-lease. He signed a lease with me at 17. And so that's where I lived. And I had three jobs because I graduated early.
Yes.
With honors. So I was super smart. Now I just have to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So, my mom's like, she was caught in the middle because, the religion and my dad's just always kind of been stubborn and hard, to deal with. But she was like, oh my gosh, my baby, she's going to go move to this place. And, there's no lights in the hallways. And
yeah.
So she went to like Target and filled up like huge carts of stuff, but that's not enough.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah. What happened when because they ripped? You said, and I'm sorry, I keep going back to that. I just want to understand. They ripped your family away. So did they actually? Because you did stay in the house, right? So did they just ignore you? Did they not speak to you? Did they just pretend you weren't there? What exactly happened? Because it sounds so scary and so cold. And of course, it makes a lot of sense because you're not following, you have to follow. So they're making it as scary as possible. So what exactly happened? How did they follow through on their threat of cutting you off the family?
The disfellowshipping happened. So they made that choice that they're going to disfellowship me after they set me upstairs, to tell my parents what I had said. And then they were going to do their little meeting, and then they're going to tell me what's going to happen. Well, my parents already told me that I'm going to be disfellowshipped, from me just walking up the stairs. Mm-hmm. And so that process is like a week from that day. So, or whatever, the next major meeting, which was like a Thursday night, They announce it. And from that moment on, nobody can speak to you in the family. So my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, my cousins, all of those people, I mean, they all go to the same congregation.
Yes.
And my family, my parents that live with me, my brother as well, they spoke to me in the house, but they're not allowed to communicate with me outside of the church as long as I'm attending, I'm supposed to, you know what I'm saying? Like, so whatever we did in behind closed doors at that point, because I'm living in the household and my dad is an elder, that's why I had to move out, is because my father would be condemned as well for my actions because he couldn't hold his household to a standard.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I just wanted to understand and just let the audience understand. So then you moved out at 17 into this place, and your mother bought you all these things. That's where you were. So tell me a bit about how you felt about her and the relationship between the two of you, because now she's totally conflicted. She doesn't want to leave her husband. She's afraid of the church. And you now isolated, alone, and now you're really alone and abandoned. So how were you feeling at that moment, and how angry were you really with the church or with your mother or whoever it was?
Yeah. Well, at first they were lenient. I obviously felt isolated because I grew up, I was adopted as well. And me and my mom were best friends. So it hurt a lot that I couldn't speak to her as freely in the beginning. And I think that I didn't really tell you that I didn't want to do drugs and I didn't want to do those things. But I also felt like it was something that I tried and I wasn't going to lie about. So I felt like kids make mistakes, and I felt like my parents should understand. So it hurt me a lot, but it didn't hurt me nearly as much later on in life. I was disfellowshipped for 7 years.
Wow.
I wrote 4 letters. Sorry. I wrote 4 letters to the elders over that time frame. And I mean, you don't write a letter like a page. You write like a 2 or 3 page letter telling them how sorry you are and how you've repented and what you're doing differently. And I felt that those were put together, and you have to also go to all the meetings as well to try to get back in. And so I tried that for 7 years off and on. I try for a while to really because I'm completely isolated still. I don't talk to my rest of my family. My grandma would send me letters once in a while just to keep me going and let me know that she loved me. But nobody was able to. I mean, my grandma, she went to the other congregation, and she'd hold my hand during the prayer because nobody was looking.
Wow. Okay, so wow, the pain of this. So now, how did you survive? So you now on your own, okay? And it's that total isolation and the need to get back in because you want to get back into being accepted. What did you do? How did you survive as 17 in this house? So you said it was like a crack house, okay? So you're surrounded by drugs, alcohol, whatever you are. How did you survive that environment?
Well, I worked 3 jobs. I worked at a credit union. and I worked 2 waitressing jobs. And so I worked all the time, and I didn't do drugs like that. I never. I would walk up to my house, like up the stairs, and I know it would be dark, and like I'd come home sometimes late at night because I worked at Village Inn at the time, because I was a kid, and I would wait tables at Village Inn, and then after walking up those stairs was so scary. It was so scary, and then you don't have friends, and so I became friends with some, like, I was friends. I took Spanish. And I had some Spanish friends that helped me with my 4 years of Spanish, that they kind of took me in as their own because they were like their family member, like they had a huge family and they were very loving and they were very sweet to me. And they kind of took me in as theirs, but it still wasn't enough. It's not like a family that could, take place of that. So, I mean, me and my mom would still see each other. We'd hide. We'd go to lunches. We'd hang out. We'd try for a while. But then my dad finally told my mom that she would have to stop or she would be in trouble. And her marriage would be in trouble as well. So that put a kibosh to that, and that made me really try harder. But this is like the 4th letter. So now I'm living in Des Moines. I mean, lots of time has passed. Mm-hmm. I moved away to a different city across the state, and I felt like the space would probably help. Maybe those elders and that congregation didn't really like me. Maybe they would see me differently here without all of those family members at the congregation and the meetings. I just felt like I would have a fair fight.
Yes.
And so that's how I finally got back in. But it was very short. I mean, what's damage is done. Because all those years, and you're searching for somebody, sometimes you don't find the right ones. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of predatory people.
Yes. So how did you navigate that?
Well, thankfully, my mom stayed in contact with me some, even though she wasn't supposed to. But that's again why I moved. So I didn't have to have that that relationship dangled in front of me.
Mm-hmm. So how did you? So then you got back into another church, right?
I got reinstated. The same elders that judge you in the beginning, they stick with you for the life of your file as you talk about it.
Okay.
So regardless of whatever these people in a different city think of you, and they see your progress in the church and your attendance, because like how else are you supposed to show them that you're repentant other than come to the meetings and show yourself to be different. So I just try to keep my nose clean and try to keep busy with work and And then, eventually, sometimes in that 7 years, I found really bad people and really low places. I just hope that I know that there's other people that suffer out there. And I feel there's people that love you, regardless of your religious choices. And I want to help them too.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, so you got back into the church, right?
Right.
Did it make you feel safer? Did you feel like I'm home? Or what happened after that?
So I think that, yeah, we have to go backtrack a little bit. So the fourth letter, they actually told me no again after the fourth letter. And I wrote 4 pages this time. I was just giving it all. And I sat that in there, and they, because I had to go back to those same people in the basement and be judged by the same people. So you're writing this letter, and they read it. They're away from you for about, 45 minutes to an hour. And then you come back in and they tell you what they think. Well, we've prayed and this is what we found. And we find that you're not repentant. And I was like, what? So my grandparents, my old grandparents, I had 90-year-old grandparents that went to the other congregation. Remember the grandma that held my hand?
Yes.
So I was just like, my grandparents are 90 some years old. They're going to pass away. They're going to die soon. And I want to be able to grieve with them. If all else, I just want to grieve with them, which is not, it's not acceptable for you to grieve with them. So if they were to die at that point, they would not look at me at the funeral, like my family members. So that's shunning. Like we would see each other at McDonald's or out in public, wherever, and they would look through you, not at you. They don't smile at you. They don't talk to you, but they look through you. And I just couldn't, I told them that I couldn't deal with that. I was like, I'm like, I couldn't, I said, if you want me to act like I don't know my grandparents, that like I was just hypothetically speaking, I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm like, and now you'll have that guilt on your conscience. And what's sad about this is that even my grandpa was on my committee, which is sad. And I think that's really kind of sick, is that they would put that on my grandfather to judge me and hear all the things, which some of them, I don't know. My grandpa probably didn't want to hear all those things, right? And I said, I just told them, I was like, if you don't let me back in here, I'm going to kill myself. And actually, I was really vibrant about it. I remember I was so mad because I was just like, I'm just going to slit my throat. And I was like, and girls don't do that. Right? But they took me seriously. And I was just like, I'll just pull the crazy card. And I'm just like, I'm just going to kill myself. And like, I was serious. I really felt so alone. So I don't know why they sent me out again, and then they pulled me back in and they let me back in. So I felt like it was like a failure, but not, I got my family back, but not, I really knew what it took to get there. And it wasn't my letters. It was just maybe just pulling the crazy card. And I just, yeah. So I got back in, but I never went to the meetings again. I tried to go for like a memorial. They always want everybody to get together for the memorial of Christ's death. And I try to go into that, but you feel judged all the time. You feel guilty all the time. So I didn't feel comfortable even at my family's get-togethers. Still have troubles.
Yes, of course, because you'd been shunned. Now the damage is done. How did that affect you? Okay, you were serious about suicide, which doesn't surprise me. But how did it affect you mentally or emotionally as a person? How did it affect you, yourself, your self-respect, your self-love? How did that affect you? I mean, I know the answer, but I'd like to.
So when I did try killing myself when I was younger, And that's a horrible thing it's selfish, and it's sad it's sad to talk about. It's sad to say, because, you have friends that have killed themselves, and I just never thought I would, but I did. And thankfully, I took a bunch of sleeping pills, and I don't even know, I did it in my family's house. And I just think that's super selfish on top of being selfish. But thankfully, I went to the ambulance, and there's a friend that called my parents, and they told them what I had done. And I'd only called one person, but thankfully that person called. And they found me upstairs, and they couldn't pump my stomach. And I just remember all feeling so bad for my grandparents. Sitting with me. And that hurts me today. That it hurt them. And I was a baby.
But you can also understand where you're coming from, because to be totally unseen and to be you were treated so cruelly, because that is really so cruel, to be just shut off like that, to be shunned. And I'm not justifying suicide, but I think some people, you get to such a point, where it seems like it's the only alternative. So you have to forgive yourself for that, I think, just in my opinion. And the good thing is that you were saved. You didn't go through with it. And perhaps that cry of help helped you. Did it make a difference later on? Did people treat you differently?
No. No. I think that I really had to do that for myself. I had to forgive myself. And I think it's still hard. I think that those feelings of guilt and those feelings of shame, and that everybody's judging you and looking at you differently, talking about you behind your back, that just lingers forever. But hopefully, with all this therapy that I've been through, thankfully, it's still continuing. But that's another thing that religion believes in, is that you're not allowed to talk about things, and you're not allowed to tell people outside that religion these things, because if you do, it's apostate. You're thought of as someone against God, and I don't believe that I'm against God. So it took me a long time to talk about it, but it took me my mom passing away 3 years ago. And I went to a therapist, and I told her, I need to get right with my spirituality. I need to heal so that I can love my mom before she passes away. And that's what took me to get there, is because I hated her for what she did. And I hated the family, especially her, because I loved her so much. It was like a double-edged sword for sure. She was my best friend growing up, and she was an amazing mom. And she shouldn't have to be treated differently or badly, or all that hate in my heart for her. And so I forgave her, and I tried to do a lot of I did some star therapy, which I don't know if you're familiar with. I did some retraining my brain and the way that I react to things. And obviously I still have a hard time talking about a lot of it. But there's certain things that I can talk about pretty good. You know, I can get through a discussion. But yeah, I did that for my mom, and I felt like I had to be honest. And I felt like, for once, because like, you're not supposed to talk to therapists. You're not supposed to talk about the religion or talk bad about them. And I wasn't really trying to talk bad about them. I was just trying to tell my story, and they didn't want me to talk about it, you know, with a licensed professional. And they also didn't want you to go on medication. Like, I remember like being depressed and them not wanting us to go on antidepressants. And I remember even my dad, my mom had went on antidepressants once, and he made her get off of antidepressants. And I said, well, that's not fair. I was really mad about that. I was like, why can you take away antidepressants? Because it floods their mind. That's how it floods your mind. And so we're not allowed to take antidepressants because we're depressed, but you're allowed to take your insulin, aren't you? And I couldn't understand that. And I couldn't believe that the mental illness or, you know, being depressed or anything like that it wasn't accepted. And so how would they think that they could help us if they can't help us? Really, they're not doctors, and they really definitely needed to promote the congregation to help themselves, I guess. But yeah, I got off base.
Okay, so that's all very interesting. So do they help each other, or how do they deal with people that are ill? Okay, we see that they don't want believe in medication or in psychiatrists, unless obviously maybe within the religion per se, right?
Right.
How do they deal with things like that? Do they just shun it? And for what reason? What is their reason for not accepting medication or doctors or medical treatment or surgery or whatever it is? What is their reason?
They just didn't want you to taint your mind. That's it. I don't know if it's changed now, but I mean, when the last time I heard about the medication was when my mom took it. And I just don't understand that. I told them exactly that. Like, my dad's a diabetic. He takes insulin. You have to take insulin. Otherwise, you're going to die. It's the same. I think that I'm not up to date with all of their new rules and regulations because I don't practice. I just know how much hurt it caused me, and how, you know, when I went to a therapist, I was told not to speak about, you know, what happened to me and how my family treated me. And I feel like that's not telling your truth either. So I don't know why that is, that they feel that they can, I feel like they think that they can push stuff under the rug and pacify things within the religion. The elders are supposed to be kind of your saviors and like your pseudo parents to help you through all of the things, whether it be marital problems or, you know, trouble with school or whatever it might be. So they're supposed to be your catch-all, your save-all type of thing. And that's what they want to be. They want to use that for only that, which I feel like also covers up a lot of things.
Yes, of course. It keeps control as well with fear. And so you, now I'm going to go back. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. You went back into the religion. How did you get out? again, or did you just stay in? What happened once you got back in again? And I mean, obviously it wasn't the same. It couldn't ever be the same because of what happened. What did you do? How did you get out?
So I knew from the moment that I got in, I knew that I would be probably immediately judged, or they'd be looking after me and under scrutiny all the time. I just never went to another meeting again. And I told my family that because you know, they had to know why I got back in. You know, like, how did I get back in? And I had to tell them. I told them, I was like, hey, this is what happened. I pulled that crazy card. And so I feel like, you know, they gave me this as a consolation prize for the 7 years of being in limbo with no family, no nothing. I felt like that was their consolation prize or something like that. And I just didn't want to be anywhere around it. I even just sitting for that hour of the memorial, it just makes your skin cringe. It's just, you feel disgusting in there. You feel gross. So yeah, I never went again. And I won't ever. And I would never bring anybody that I loved to a place like that. And that was something that I had always said, that if I had kids, my family couldn't be a part of their lives if they wanted to push religion onto them. You know, like nobody's kids should ever get baptized until they're 18 and they can make life decisions for themselves. Yes. Like having a child, like you would make that same promise to a child. I couldn't ruin my family. I couldn't ruin a child of mine by giving them to that religion.
How easy was it to leave?
I think it's just trying to, the lesser of two evils. You know, I didn't want any part of that. Because it hurt me so bad. My therapist calls it religious abuse.
Yes, that's like the ultimate abuse. It's worse than being beaten. So what happened then once you left? What happened? Where did you go and what did you do? Because obviously now you were older, you understood a bit more about the whole religious thing, about your family, about what had happened. And of course, now you had many scars from the abuse. What happened? What did you do once you left?
Well, I always wanted to show my dad that I was good enough and that I was smart enough. And if I couldn't, I got straight A's in school, wanted him to be proud.
Yeah.
Played sports, was really great at them. They don't want you to go to college unless it's like they want you to go and they want you to spread the word of God to people more so than having a great career. And if I wanted to go to college, I had to now pay for it myself. So I went to some college and some community college. I was going for a CNA, and then I tried to become a nurse for a while. I wanted to help others. I wanted to love people. Yes. And so, but that didn't work out because I had such a big heart that I worked in peds, and I couldn't watch little babies die. You know, I couldn't watch kids with leukemia and sickle cell. I just couldn't. So I had to try something else. It's just because it took my heart. I couldn't give my heart couldn't take care of myself, you know?
Yes, yes.
So I went on to sales, and I worked for a software company and a sales company that thankfully I thrived with, and I made good money, and I traveled all over. And then I felt like my parents were kind of proud of me but I'm also like hiding, you know, like I'm moving all around the country. So I can be free and I can be myself, you know, but I'm also making them supposedly proud, right? Of how much money I'm making and what kind of lifestyle I have. And so I was really, thankfully I put myself into my career, and I made myself something. And, I'll never hear what I needed to from them, but that's just acceptance, you know. You have to be good with yourself, and nothing else matters really. If they don't love you, you still have you know.
So have you come to a point where you can, well, you've moved forward, right, despite what happened, but have you come to a point where you can accept what happened, accept what happened?
I don't really know. I guess I'm trying to, you know, talk about it. And I still have friends that have connections to their families as well. And they struggle with the same things. And I think that sometimes it's good just to talk about it with each other, because they're really the only people that I'll ever understand. You know? So I feel like, and then just understanding that, you know what, the person that I love, I still love that person. You know, my father is still a good person. I love him, but we just can't talk about those things. And
how does it make you feel?
Isolated again. Is that you have to like choose your words wisely or not talk about those things. You have to have ground rules and boundaries of your own so that you can have a dinner. And I don't know, it feels lonely.
So what happened between then and now?
So then and now, I've been going to therapy for now 3 years fully every week, sometimes more than once. Going through and just digging deep and trying to forgive myself and learning who that person is, really, truly. And I've just been trying to do that and keeping myself busy and loving people the way that, you know, you should. So
if you look back from now to then, 16 years old, would you have done anything differently?
Well, yes and no. You know, you want to like tell the little you, hey, be careful with your words, choose wisely. But you also want to be true to yourself. And I wouldn't have went through all of those. I mean, trials and tribulations. Serious predators all around you for life. I probably would want to let that person know it's going to be hard. So I would choose the same thing though, because I think honesty is way easier to deal with than lying for the rest of your life.
So you have to be commend yourself for being true to yourself, for being honest, because that's harder for some people, right? Because a lot of times it's easier to just say, oh, okay, no, to lie, right? And to be caught up in all those webs. So it shows you a very good strength of character that you said, no, this is not the way it is. This is who I am, and this is truth. So you have to like say, wow, you know what, I am worthy just because of the right choices that I've made. How did you negotiate the predators? How did you get around that? What did you do? Because that's so hard to do. And it's so easy to fall into easy habits, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. The predators are like sometimes the people that are in the religion, you know, and the people that you trusted then, and some of the people that have kind of the same stories as you, you know. I think just talking about it with people, like, you know, a family member, my therapist, you can see through those people. And the light shines on them. And it, you know, there's imperfect people in every religion and every cult, but these people are a special kind of bad, you know, like a special kind of evil that would prey on innocent people. So now I guess I have the strength of people that believe in me and trust me and love me.
Yes, and perhaps one of the blessings would be, despite what happened, is that now you can recognize people for who they are, right? Right. You can see through people. Would that be a lesson that you would have learned during that time?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I grew up way fast, really, really fast when I was young, and it made me hard and calloused. And so now I'm just learning how to love again too. Better.
And starting with you.
It started with me. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. So what is the way forward?
Finding the love in people that really exists, you know, like all around, and not having boundaries to the people that you love, or the people that you know what I'm saying? The people that you bring in, there's good people and everything. And so that's another thing, is just like finding religion and finding hope and your own spirituality and accepting that, which wasn't accepted by them. It's not acceptable for you to go to another church. That's apostate again. You know, it's not acceptable for you to have your own spirituality if it's not theirs. So becoming myself and learning what makes me click and why I love so deeply is something too. I believe that God helped me so much through those times.
Yes, that sounds like. So, do you have any regrets?
I wish I could say that I did, but I don't. I regret all those years and all that time. yeah, it makes it forever when people die.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think differently. But I think it was worth it in the end because my mom was definitely proud of me and she definitely loved me and she'd want me to be happy. And I know that she saw me happy. So, yeah, it's just unfortunate that something can have so much control over your happiness.
Yes.
Because I can't imagine, like, I mean, you want to have a kid and you say, you know what, even if they were the worst person in the world, you would accept them and you would believe in them and you trust them and you love them, regardless of their decisions. And I just didn't feel that. And it was just so black and white. And there was no gray area for me. So
what was the most fearful time for you during that time?
I talked to my counselor about it. It's walking up those stairs at night. It's sleeping in your house and having people knock on the door and you not knowing who's there. And this is before I had a cell phone, you know.
Yes.
You know, it's that scary. Thankfully, there's an angel on my shoulder, you know, like that was looking out for me because it's just being alone and thankful for those people, that family that took me in under, you know, as a pseudo sister and brother, you know, like I'm thankful for them and their love, for that, because they were a strength for me. But that's the scariest part, is just being alone and not having a home to go back to. Yeah, you just wanted your mom. You just wanted your mom.
Wow. Okay. Freedom. Have you found freedom from the horrors of your abuse?
Yeah.
And have you found freedom within yourself?
I'm finding it. I think it's a work in progress. I think it's, I feel myself, but there's so much more to do. You know, there's so much you don't really know yet. It's just kind of like you're a new baby in a new world, and you're trying to navigate that.
And it's beautiful, actually, because it's all new beginnings, and it's exciting because there's just so many possibilities. And you've proved that you're so brave and you're so smart and you've got so much potential that now, wow, the world's your oyster, right?
Yay.
It's exciting. It's time now.
It is. It is
time to live a beautiful life. And as we're recording this, it is the last week of the 2022. I'm not dating this. This is timeless, but I'm just saying, what a perfect time to share your story and to show the world who you really are and how much love you've got to change the world. Because with every person that listens to this show, they'll come out with something, and it also gives people hope that if you are in that kind of situation, there is hope and you can walk away. And there are loving people around, just like the Spanish people that brought you in. So this was beautiful. Are there any last words you'd like to say before we leave?
Yeah, I just hope that people reach out to each other, and you know, or me or anyone else that they can find that can be help and strength for them. That there are other people out there that have been through this, and they're not predators. They're actually good people with you know, and they're smart too, and they can be successful and you know, change, like, and you don't need to change your person, because I was a good kid then, and I still am a good kid now.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So
yes.
I hope that more people get together and learn how to communicate so that we can be strong together.
Wow, I love that. So on that note, I'd just like to add, you know, you don't have to sell your soul. You don't have to sell yourself to survive, or to survive. There are people out there that can help you out. Just reach out. So I've said that before also on the show. Just reach out. All the information is at the bottom. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was such an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. And I'm so glad. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your courage, because this takes a lot of courage to speak about this. So thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll have another show at some time, just to see the follow-up and how much you've grown after this. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. This has been an honor and a pleasure. Have a beautiful week, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.